Hello and welcome back to another installment of Fodder, where today I want to talk about a Pokemon that, since it came out, I have been desperately trying to find a way to use, and maybe, just maybe, a year and a half later, I have finally found a deck that Zygarde works in. Maybe, just maybe. And it took, I think, 2 different buffs and a new plate to get us to this point. As you see, I still have my boosters that I have not opened. We very well could have a gym this weekend, but just in case it's a team event, I'm going to wait until tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. If we're going to have, if we're going to have a gym, we'll probably have an orbital haul tomorrow. Maybe someone will data mine and let me know for sure what we've got going on. But let's look at Zygarde for a moment. It is a dragon ground type, and this is the Zygarde 50% form, and I guess there's a Zygarde 100% and maybe even a Zygarde like 10% form, but this is the 50% form. It is the only one that is currently available in the game. Dragon ground type. It has the ability of Lance Call. And it's kind of sad that Zygarde appears to be viable right now because of its ability. And here's what I mean. Your ground-type Pokemon deal plus 10 damage when this Pokemon is on the field, unless this Pokemon is affected by a special condition. And that's actually not what I was talking about. But that is going to prove helpful in this specific deck. In the grand scheme of things, ground-type Pokemon are so badly forgotten that they're basically like normal type Pokemon in this game, where they're a complete afterthought. But if we look at its wheel, it is a 1 MP figure, which is not great. It has a 24 wheel slice of Land's Wrath, which hits for 90. All other Pokemon on the field spin. Remember that. This is all other Pokemon on the field spin. Those that spin purple are knocked out. That's good and bad. Think of it as Earthquake for purples. Typically there's a lot more purple than there is miss in your deck and your opponent's deck. So this can lead to a lot more mass knockouts. There's one other something where if they roll something, I can't remember who it is, but there's another one where people re-roll. Maybe one of the Shamans or something that came out in the Shaman decks or with the Shaman banner. God, Bishop is going to kill me. I can't think of Bishop's favorite Pokemon. It's the grass type. It's got an all-white wheel. Lurantis. Lurantis has a respin option as well, but it's just for opponents, not for everybody. Anyway, if you're not at level 5, this is going to have 3 different miss sections. It's basically the same wheel as Rayquaza. 4 miss with a 40 dodge, minus C level 10, so it hits for 140. With the newest buff, it hits for 130. And then a gold 24 wheel slice of extreme speed. Now, with that being said, I don't want my figures spinning. Like, that is the reason why people don't typically run Earthquake, is because they don't want their own figures how many times to respin. How many times have you been in a gym where you've had Seismitoad on your team and it rolls Earthquake and knocks out your goalie and your opponent wins because of it? Like, every one of you should be raising your hands because it's happened to all of us. I know it's happened to me on multiple occasions, and you're just gonna shake your head and laugh when it happens and be like, well, RNG, man, what are you gonna do? But I don't want my figures re-rolling. So what I've done is I've added the plate Land's Energy. During this duel, the effect of Land's Wrath from your Zygarde becomes spin for all the opponent's Pokemon on the field, excluding flying types. If it lands on purple attack, that Pokemon faints. Your turn ends. So that's pretty good. So now there are a few exceptions. If your opponent has Nihilego. If your opponent has Xurkitree, they're going to nullify your land's energy, which is kind of a bummer. And now with a lot of people running Rayquaza, or Shiny Rayquaza, with the break energy, that is also a weakness to this. But now here's why I like what I've got going on here. And this deck isn't without its weaknesses. I think all decks in this day and age have weaknesses, and this is absolutely no exception. But what I do like, I'm going to tell you the reason why it'll work. I told you why it won't work, and that's Nihilego, Xurkitree, and break energy. But I'm going to tell you now why this will work. And the reason why this will work is because look at this little guy right here, Vibrava. Vibrava is a ground dragon type. Now I have mine fully maxed out except for it could be level 10. I just didn't really see the need. I have a 80 attack and a 40 attack. Well, it's ground dragon. If we remember, Zygarde buffs my ground types by 10. If you will remember, Altaria buffs your dragon types by 10, and it stacks. So now my Vibrava is hitting for 70 and 110, which is way more viable than 40, 80 for sure. You throw in Poliwrath, which can confuse your opponent, and what you're going to end up with is a Flygon. Let me go in here and edit my figures. Is a Flygon. Where are you, Flygon? Flygon. Is a Flygon that is now doing 110 and 120 damage with a 2-star Draco Meteor. Flygon's kind of a ruthless little beast at 110, 120 with a 2-star Draco Meteor. And then you have Noibat, who you guys know, I actually think Noivern after evolution is a top 5 figure. I still feel that way in this game, which is going to give it just all kinds of damage buffs with the flying and the dragon type. It doesn't get the ground buff, but it gets the Altaria buffs. So there is a lot to like here. Like, there's buffs coming from everywhere. Everything is going to get buffed up just a little bit, except for Poliwrath. But Poliwrath is only in there really to confuse my opponents. That's going to help me trigger evolutions for Vibrava and for Noibat. I'm running the Dragon Sphere plate, which is a new plate in the game. Choose one of your Dragon-type Pokemon until the end of the duel. While that Pokemon is on the field, your Dragon-type Pokemon with 1 MP or lower get +1 MP. If those Pokemon are not affected by a special condition, they can MP move over other Pokemon on the field. And this plate is broken right now. You can actually come off the bench. But, yeah. And then I have Wing Sphere in here. Once my Noibat becomes evolved into Noivern, I want to be able to move freely over other figures. So you can kind of see the deck here. You can kind of see the ideas behind it. I have a couple games that I've saved, but I'm probably not going to use them. I'm just going to go ahead and jump into a league match. I'll kind of go over what I'm thinking instead of just letting it play in the background. Tomorrow is the 4th of July for those of you who are in the United States. Happy 4th of July to you. I will tell you that there is a slim to no chance of a new video coming out tomorrow, so don't be looking for one. I'm going to try and enjoy the holiday, and we have an opponent here, and I hope you guys are safe over the holiday. So we're going up against just kind of a hodgepodge deck. Here we are, a year later. Koko Mega Gengar Rush is still a viable deck. That's crazy to me. And then they've got in the Skyform, which can move over everything. They've got the Zoro, which means I can't attack anything. And then they've got Kyurem, which seems a little out of place, and Registeel, which just kind of hard hitters, I believe, is what they're in there for. I'm going to have to be kind of careful about lining up with Kyurem, because I definitely don't want to confuse it and let it have that 150 roll there. And see what my opponent wants to do. I'm going to take Vibrava and I'm going to put it into the middle, which is going to buy me just a little bit of time on my next turn, no matter what happens. If my opponent even wants to play, and they do. Oh, okay, so they chose to go a different route. I'm going to bring out my Noi Bat here, which is what that's going to allow me to do, is it's going to allow me to go to either one of those spots and threaten if he wants to be too aggressive, and my opponent did want to be aggressive. So now his only options are to goal block. Well, 1, 2, I guess he could go back there, but then I'm just going to hop over here and still threaten goal. So I'm going to force him to retreat one way or the other, or use goal block. Either or, double chance, XX, goal block, and then Mega Gengar. I'm actually really happy that my opponent is going to waste their goal block. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over this way. Now it's going to open the door for Gengar to come out here. I understand. But that is going to keep... I probably should have just attacked. Should have been aggressive. He should bring out Gengar right there, which is going to force me to take... That was a bad play by my opponent. So I'm going to take the Freeze Round. And without a Max Revive, I'm very happy about that turn of events. That's actually I'm actually okay with this matchup. And that is why, right there. I was actually very much okay with that matchup. You know, I kind of feel like I'm playing with fire here by not bringing out another figure, but another questionable play there by my opponent. Confusing doesn't do a whole lot other than it makes that hammer arm less likely to roll. He has no hurdle jumps. Thunder Wave is... I can deal with that. So now, because I'm going to exploit the bug in the game as far as the Dragon Sphere plate. Well, that didn't work at all, did it? I'm going to actually put my Dragon Sphere plate on my Altaria that is leveled up. Well, that didn't work at all. Like, what is going on here? Like, he landed Protect both times. That is his smallest wheel size. Cool, man. Cool. He has no hurdle jump. So I'm going to actually go there. And then I'm going to Max Revive something. Not quite sure what. Probably my other Altaria. Oh, I haven't had a chance to trigger. Okay, that's going to work. Now what we're going to do is we are going to trigger Land's Energy because I've got a lot of purple out here. I've got that is completely leveled up to purple. There's a ton of purple there. There's a decent sized purple there. The last thing I want to do is KO my own figures. But I like how things are set up here. I'm not really threatened by the Gengar Rush at the moment. I'm going to do Dragon Sphere. And like I said, I'm going to exploit the bug of it. Typically, and once that gets fixed, I will drop it directly on top of my Zygarde. Because when my Zygarde's on the board is when I always want to have 3 MP or 2 MP with my Zygarde. But for now, the developers are going to break it. I'm going to use the broken I'm thinking here. I'm thinking that I'm going to max revive my Poliwrath, and here's the reason why I'm gonna max revive. If he goes Mega, well, he can't. He can't hop over me anywhere. But okay. Now here's the thing. I'm actually just gonna go for this. I've got an opening. He's not gonna have his gold to knock out my purple. Hurricane is a decent size. And like I always tell Rico, don't fear Zoro. Now my opponent is going to have to either attack with Kyurem off the bench or go Mega Gengar and retreat. He's going to go for the Kyurem avenue, which is fine. I have a ton of winning rolls here. That's going to actually get me iced. Not cool. Do I scoop up? I think I do. Yeah. Like, I think I have to. It's not what I wanted to do, but I think it's what I had to do there. I'm so far ahead on time. I didn't want to leave a figure back by his goal. To basically would end up being a free kill. I'm going to go with my winged sphere plate. And then we're going to call that a day. And then, I can't remember, Gengar has attacked. So I can attack freely into Gengar with my Zygarde. He's going to go Mega Gengar. Now, the bad news is my opponent has nothing purple except for Mega Gengar here. God, Confusion would be great. See what we can do here. Perfect. God, that worked out nice. I've always said, even before this latest buff, I've always said that Zygarde felt like a good figure at 2 MP. It like Groudon. And then Groudon is way outclassed at this point in the game. But I've always felt like if Groudon were 2 MP, that would be right. Like, it would feel good. I'm gonna go up here. I'm going to go after this guy. Again, I'm playing an opponent who has little to no purple on their team. Rico, don't fear the Zoro. Now I'm kind of stuck here. I'm going to be caught in the infinite loop of he can just keep bringing out a figure. So I'm going to have to retreat. Or I could go after Skyform. That's actually what I'm going to do. Actually, that's not what I'm going to do. I mean, Zygarde is just an absolute animal here. It does have 8 miss, which means I'm due to start rolling a lot of miss anytime now. Man. This looks like a good opportunity just to threaten the goal. He'll bring Skyform back, which is fine. I could have gone there and attacked Skyform, I guess. Would have been another option. But so far up in time, at this point, I could just really turtle up and not even have to worry about it. This deck should be okay against the rush. Wow, that is... I don't know that X attack is really going to get things done for you. That is a plus 60 though. But not with melee. That's going to be a good game. Oh yeah, he's going to choose melee. It's okay against rush because you do have the Vibrava, because you do have the long throw, and with the Dragon Sphere plate being broken, you can actually pull out your Zygarde off the bench over another figure. Poliwrath is going to confuse your opponent, which should give you opportunities to free up your entry points. It kind of gets wrecked by fire pretty bad, but a lot of things get wrecked by fire right now. Although you do have a couple of evolutions in there, and a scoop up, and you have the opportunity to banish with Perish Song a couple of different figures. So, you know, Mankey, Mareep, and an Ingot Rare. So that is going to do it for today's video. I will probably run this deck for a while. I've got a ton of resources built into this one. And it was just something that I had been doing over time. So it's nice to see some older figures being able to be used in the game. And they're definitely not as broken as the new figures. But as you saw, Zygarde can do up to 170 damage. And that's going to pretty much hang with everything in the meta. And then you have your Noivern after evolution with the two Altarias on the deck. On the board, you're going to have, you know, what is that, 130, 40, 150, you know, 150, 160 damage, somewhere in that neighborhood. So you've got a couple of really strong heavy hitters. The Altarias could get the Dragon Dance and hit for 150, 140, 150. So there you go. And then you got your Flygon. When Zygarde on the board after the evolution, Flygon's going to hit for, I believe it's 120 and 130. So a lot of hidden power in this deck, and it doesn't take a lot to start stacking up a lot of power. It's definitely not the most powerful, but I don't think it's going to get just walked over by strong decks. I hope you guys have a fantastic 4th of July. Please be safe, enjoy time with family, and that's all I've got for today. So until next time.